Right, I don't want to get specifically into the programme for government agenda that you laid out, because you've been interviewed several times here on the BBC and elsewhere about that in the days since. But what I do want to ask you about, I mean, we're talking about the distinction between your policy platform, your style, and your predecessors. Nicola Sturgeon was in Parliament on Tuesday, just before you were about to take to your feet on that big set-piece speech. I don't think she was in the chamber. Certainly Anna Sarwar said she didn't come into the chamber, but she stood outside and held court with journalists on the issue of trans rights. Now, that got a lot of publicity. It took up perhaps a lot of the attention away from what you were saying. You will never admit to me on the programme this morning that you were furious about that, but with the greatest respect, I'm going to suggest that I think you probably were.
Not in the slightest. I was pleased to hear Nicola setting out her perspective, and I agree with her perspective that it's important that the rights of everybody in Scotland, and that includes trans people, are properly and fully respected, and that's indeed what the Supreme Court judgment said to us.
But it's not her perspective, it's the timing. She didn't need to be there. She could have done this at any moment, perhaps 2 weeks previously, when trans people actually could have done with a powerful voice like hers in their corner, and she chose to do it just before you got to your feet.
Well, I'm completely at ease with that, perfectly happy with the timing and perfectly happy with what Nicola said. And of course it corresponds with what I said immediately after the Supreme Court judgment, which is that we've got to protect and defend the rights of everybody within Scotland. People are entitled, no matter who they are, to have their rights protected. And a government under my leadership, and indeed a government under Nicola Sturgeon's leadership, always operated on the approach that people's rights had to be protected. So I'm completely at ease with all of that.
Just before we leave this issue, actually, on the issue of gender matters, it's difficult territory, I know, but now we're hearing gender-specific toilets back in Parliament, trans women not allowed to use women's toilets in Parliament. As of now, will that extend to all civil service buildings or government buildings in Scotland? It kind of has to, right, as of now, doesn't it?
We're obviously taking forward all of the steps that are necessary to review these issues and to make sure we've got the proper guidance in place. Some of this will have to wait until the Equalities and Human Rights Commission provide their final guidance on these issues, which won't be for some time to come. But we're engaging with the Equalities and Human Rights Commission, and we're also undertaking the internal review work that's required to make sure that we always live within the law, which is an absolutely solemn commitment that my government makes to the people of Scotland.
But if you've done it in Parliament, presumably you think the time is now, and that surely then has to spread out to all civil service buildings, doesn't it?
Well, I don't run the Parliament. Parliament takes its own decisions. They're independent decision makers from the government. And the government is looking at all of these questions and will come to our conclusions in an orderly fashion. We have internal work underway on that as we speak.
OK,